The following program contains mature subject matter. Listener discretion is advised. Montreal's news talk leader, CJAD 800 presents Passion with sex therapist Dr. Laurie Betito. To reach Dr. Laurie, call 514-790-0991. Star Talk, a free call on Bell Mobility, and 800-491-CJAD. Now, here's Dr. Laurie.
Welcome to Passion, a show all about love, sex, and relationships. I'm Dr. Laurie Betito. Once a month, we hold a regular feature called Dating Dilemmas. And tonight, we have, as we are every month, joined by Frank Kermit, a seduction and dating coach of franktalks.com. He's the author of several books on this subject, as well as tonight, our very special guest, Cristina Mucciardi of cookandDate.com. You've heard her here before, and she's here to share more of her own wisdom. Every year she just has more and more stuff to share with us, right? Because you just keep getting more experience in this world. So, of course, if you are single, if you have questions about how to date, where to date, how to improve your odds, Frank's really good at that, right? How to improve your odds. How to understand the needs of each gender. Frank's written several books on that subject. How to pick up whatever, and especially events like, have you tried speed dating? Have you tried, things like Cook and Date, which we'll find out what that's about, because that's a pretty original idea that started here in Montreal. We'd love to hear from you. 514-790-0991. In fact, all callers will go into a draw. I have a CD, one of Frank Kermit's CD, 101 great first dates, 101 plus conversation topics, what to say. This is something that some people have a hard time with in terms of, how do I start these conversations in a relationship or in a dating situation, I should say. And we also have a free a gift certificate for an event, one of the Cook and Dates event valued at $125. So you could win. You just have to call in and we'll put your name in our draw. 514-790-0991. All right, what's up with Cook and Date? We haven't seen you and spoken to you in a little while. For people who don't know what Cook and Date is, maybe you can describe it to them.
Sure. So Cook and Date is more or less a culinary event. Mm-hmm. It's not technically a cooking class. We don't want to make it that structured, but it's a group activity where we cook all together, a bunch of singles in a beautiful kitchen, mostly the Viking Center, but I have a few other kitchens as well. And they cook all together, mingle, meet, and eat the meal together.
So you cook together, you eat together, you have wine together. So it really is like more like a party atmosphere.
It's more like I invite everybody to my house, exactly, with a private chef that gives a few tips and a few, fun aspects of cooking. And, the cooking aspect of it actually makes it really fun. It makes everybody sort of get everybody's own personality because, it's like, for instance, tonight actually we had a sushi event. So people rolling sushi, you have a group of 4 and they're all rolling sushi together and who's laughing, who's making funny jokes, and you kind of see everybody's character come out over the whole cooking experience.
So I'm sure people are wondering, like, how successful have you been in terms of making matches, or not you making matches, but matches coming out of that?
Yes. So I know, not everybody.
Like, how many weddings have you been to, really?
I know of about 15 weddings.
Really?
In Montreal, yes. I know of one baby so far.
Okay.
I don't know, not everybody comes back and tells me, that they're together. Right. I hear a lot of it actually through new members that come in and say, my friend's still with so-and-so, and that's how I get a lot of the feedback. Okay. Yeah.
So 15 marriages in the last
in the last couple 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah. In the last 3 years that I know of. And actually,
pretty good.
I would say my average group is about 20 people right now, and I would say there's at least 2 to 3 dates that happen afterwards. There's that one Cook and Date. So at least 2 to 3 dates happen from every group that comes to.
Really?
Yes, I would say yes. Some last, some don't, and then that's how I hear about it. So they come back, they say, I was dating so-and-so for a while, and...
I wonder if this is what people think in terms of this kind of thing versus something like speed dating.
The difference,
do they tell you?
Yes, they do, because I have a lot of people that actually have been online, have been speed dating. The difference is this is a 4-hour event. So even though maybe speed dating is 3 to 4 hours, you're meeting everybody for 5 minutes. And then you have to remingle afterwards, and you have to actually go out there yourself. We have that sort of connection over food. So we actually give you the reason to speak.
Okay.
It's
So
not that you
usually
have
they're
to-
foodies or people who are into wine or things like that.
Something exactly.
Okay.
And there's something that's in common, or we'll just give you the common attribute, like tonight sushi, right? So you're rolling something, so of course you have to talk. Your hands are in the same rice. You know what I mean?
Right. I hope you wash your hands.
Yes,
That's what I'm saying.
Everybody washes their hands.
That's the most important. Well, that's great. So I heard also that you've expanded. You're not just in Montreal.
Yes. It's actually this year we started in Toronto, and as well as New York. We did 2 events so far in New York, mostly media, sort of like smaller events. Just starting the word, getting the word out there in New York City. But Toronto's full force going, and
well, you're spreading yourself around there.
yeah, we're doing 1 to 2 events a month right now in Toronto. Yeah, and in Montreal we're about 6 events, 8 events a month in Montreal.
Wow, that's quite a bit.
Yeah.
So there are some events coming up. If you want information, go to cookanddate.com. That's cookanddate.com. And like I said, we're giving away 1 gift certificate to attend a Cook and Date event. So if you're single or you have friends that are single, call them up now. Tell them to tune into Passion, because we're talking about singlehood and we're talking about dating. And our goal here is to help people be better daters, basically. So you'll stick around with us, and Frank and I will do our usual thing, and you can chip in there and see what you want to contribute about that. Absolutely. You're listening to Dating Dilemmas right here on Passion.
From Loser to Seducer is the story of Frank B. Kermit. This book marks the triumph of a nice guy over most of his inner demons. This includes going from being a loser to managing 5 lovers at the same time, his first Valentine's date with 2 women at the same time, and getting back the one that got away. Want to learn how you can change your life? Buy this book at franktalks.com.
This is Passion with Dr. Laurie Betito on Montreal's News Talk Leader, CJAD 800.
Tonight, it's Dating Dilemmas once a month. Frank Kermit of franktalks.com joins me in studio. And tonight we also have invited another special guest, Cristina Mucciardi of cookanddate.com. So speaking of cooking and dating and what women like, on Dan Delmar's show before mine, he was talking about a poll that says that, guys who have really nice kitchens get luckier, basically, that women find that way more important than a nice car. Frank, why is that?
That's because the way a guy organizes his kitchen will say a lot of things about the way he can handle himself in other areas of his life.
Okay.
So, one of the analogies I use is that the cleaner his bathroom, the cleaner he keeps his private parts.
Ooh, I like that. It's true. There's nothing more disgusting for a girl, I think, to go into a guy's apartment and see a disgusting toilet bowl.
Yeah, and for those of us who live that very wonderful single lifestyle, decorating the bachelor pad specifically for the purposes of seduction, it was worth the money to hire a cleaning lady to come over every once in a while, especially before the big date.
There you go. I think that's it. Frank, didn't you write a book or do a CD or do something about how to decorate a pad?
I have a 5 CD set called Pimping Your Pad, decorating your home for the purposes of seduction. It also comes with about 20 pictures of the bachelor pad I used to live in, and I go through
I have to see those.
A detailed analysis of
Pimping.
exactly, why is the living room painted Viking blue with white clouds on the ceiling?
Oh, right.
Why is the bedroom painted midnight blue, which is a really dark blue, almost black, with glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling? And
Sounds like a kid's room.
It can be, but how wonderful it is to bring out the inner child in every person that gets them to feel so comfortable.
I think I'd rather like a Sub-Zero kitchen instead. Thank you very much. So you see the connection with food, and what do women say about guys that cook?
Oh, they love it. They love it. I mean, just to prove to you is that in my database, I have about 5 to 1 women in my database, because the women are loving men that can cook.
Wow.
It must be something sensual. I mean, men that can cook and use their hands. That's what I guess they see right away.
That's true.
They're passionate because they have good taste buds, right? Because they like to, they have that savoir-faire, they have that, je ne sais quoi. Plus, I mean, I lost 2 of my chefs because they met women at my events. I mean, women love chefs.
Okay, chefs, listen up. Listen up. You know what? Well, chefs chefing has become really big business. Like, it's huge now. Look at how many reality shows that have to do with cooking. Who are the people who are watching these shows? Mostly women. But now men are much more interested in, you know, it's more of a manly thing now to be a chef and to cook and to do all of that.
Well, what I think is happening, if we look at the emotional needs, I think what happens is that a woman's mothering instinct is now halted when a man can cook for himself. And this is where the fantasy starts to build up, because she realizes, oh, if I have a future with this man, I won't have to be his mother and cook for him all the time. He can actually cook for himself. Never mind cook for her. He can cook for himself.
Right. He can take care of himself.
Exactly. And that, I believe, is the most seductive element of it. I
can tell you, for my own experience, my husband on I think our second date, he cooked for me. And that clinched the deal for me. So that to me, and I was like, this, you know, exquisite meal. It wasn't a simple meal, but it was something that wow, you made this? You didn't order it? Exactly. Are you sure you didn't go to the grocery store and get it from the frozen department?
Pick it up. Just put some, like,
he actually, and, you know, and the table was so nicely set. He actually knows how to set a table, and I was much impressed, I have to say. And you know what? It turned out that yes, he actually ended up doing most of the cooking in our household, in fact, and he was able to do the child rearing, and he was able to, you know, to clean a bathroom if necessary. Like, he was able to do everything I was able to do, and that was a big thing. I mean, in, like you said, in terms of the emotional needs, who wants to be some guy's mother?
Yeah, even especially is that the women love that alpha male. Imagine an alpha male that can cook. I mean, it's just like plus. You know,
male that can cook.
Yes.
He's like nodding his head. Yeah. Can you cook, Frank? Please tell me you cook.
I can cook certain foods. I'm not a great chef, but I can get by. One of the rules I had every time a woman would come over for a dinner date is that she wasn't allowed to do anything.
That's nice. Okay.
And if she wanted to get up and start, you know, helping to set the table, no, you're not here for that. You're here to enjoy yourself. I already have a mother. Sit down. And that was it. Now, if she did really want to participate, okay, here's some fruit. You can cut that up for dessert.
Right.
Once the meal is over, I'll take the dishes. I'll put them in the sink. She gets up to start to do the dishes with me. No, you're not here for that. You're not my maid. I don't need you to do anything for me. Go to the living room, pour yourself a drink. I'll meet you in about 10 minutes. That
that worked. You found that was really...
It worked for
helpful.
Me.
Right.
I don't know if it's going to work for everybody else.
Well, you know, you are trying to teach men things to do.
It worked for me. Again, it's about halting that mothering instinct so that she has no choice but to consider you as a potential lover.
Right. I like that, the halting the mothering instinct, because I think women go into that naturally, right?
Absolutely.
The nurturing, and cooking is part of that nurturance and all of that. So.
Absolutely.
If you can get a woman to fantasize a future with you where she doesn't have to mother you and she gets to enjoy herself, you're in.
Yeah.
You're in.
One day we'll have to get your wife on here.
She's got a number of stories.
I want to know how you got her. Let's see how you reeled her in.
I want to hear it tonight.
No. You want to hear it tonight? Let's call her. Mike, call Frank's wife. She's going to kill me. Oh my God! If you're single and you have some thoughts, some questions, just about singlehood, and you want to get a little bit of advice, or you're struggling with a certain part of being single, about dating, and you have questions. If you have questions about cook and date and those kinds of events, if you want to win a cook and date night out, then you give us a call here at 514-790-0991. You're listening to Dating Dilemmas here on Passion on CJAD 800.
Guys, does your bachelor pad look as frightening as an Elvis convention? Then you need the Pimping Your Pad seminar. Do you own a twin bed and still love your Star Wars sheets? Then you need the Pimping Your Pad seminar. Is the only source of artificial light in your bachelor pad the bare, dusty bulb hanging from the ceiling? Then you need the Pimping Your Pad seminar. Do your friends walk into your apartment and think you have been robbed? Then you need the Pimping Your Pad seminar. Do you think that minimalist means barren as the Gobi Desert? Then you need the Pimping Your Pad seminar. If your bathroom is home to a colony of anything, then you need the Pimping Your Pad seminar. The Pimping Your Pad seminar and telephone consultations, only available at franktalks.com.
listening to Passion with Dr. Laurie Betito on Montreal's News Talk Leader, CJAD 800.
Dating dilemmas tonight. What's the dating dilemma of the evening? One of the things I wanted to talk about with Frank, actually, is relationships that are on again, off again. Generally, it's not a very good sign now, is it, Frank?
No, not at all. If you're constantly breaking up, getting back together, breaking up, not only is that a sign that the relationship is not going to work long term, but that kind of repeating behavior pattern can split off into a number of unpleasant habits that you're going to take with you into future relationships, which could be damaging.
Right.
Constantly quitting on a relationship, constantly walking away, it can have horrible effects on your self-esteem because you're constantly going back into a failing endeavor.
That's true.
For some people, they just learn to always walk on eggshells because they lose themselves in that relationship. They have no sense of ownership of who they are because their entire focus becomes how to make the other person not angry instead of focusing on how to make the other person happy.
And how to keep going back, how to get back in, and do whatever it takes to get back in. Mm-hmm. So you lose yourself in all of that, of course. Salin joins us. Hi, Salin.
Question for the date and cook.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
I just have a question for the date and cook.
Yeah, cook and date. Yeah.
Cook and date.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you have like you're looking for like a specific type of generally a specific type of a person. Let's say like religious. Religious wise or age group, or let's say you want somebody that, has a degree or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
How would that work? I mean, do they have different, let's say
it's a good question.
No, absolutely.
Jewish, let's say.
No, absolutely, absolutely. Well, I don't actually just categorize right now with religion, but I do categorize by age group. So you won't be in a group, let's say, if you're younger with 80-year-olds or vice versa, if you're older with 20-year-olds, I do categorize my ages by 10 to 15 years. But let's say if you are looking, let's say, for specific ethnicity, let's say, or religion, you can actually call. We always speak to our members beforehand once you book an event to kind of guide them on who's coming or what sort of clientele is coming. So if you're looking for a Jewish clientele, let's say, or a Catholic clientele or an Arab clientele, whatever the case may be, we can always suggest which event to come to.
That there will be like of that type.
Exactly.
Actually, it would be interesting to do, for example, a kosher event.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think, and then you would, that's what you would be attracting, and it would be interesting to get into the community that way.
Exactly. That's actually something that we're looking at for this year.
Okay.
Just we haven't done that yet, but we do because we speak to everybody before our events. That's why we try to guide them actually to which event might suit their needs or their wants.
Because it would be interesting for a guy, to cook Shabbat dinner for once.
Oh, yeah, hey, I like that. Hey, that's a great idea. Teach them how to do a Shabbat dinner, including making their own challah. Thanks so much for calling. That's a very good idea.
Yeah.
Getting a guy to cook the entire traditional meal from A to Z.
That would be cool.
Yeah,
I like that.
You got to think about that one.
Yes, definitely.
That's a good one. You can't do it on a Friday night, but you have to do, but maybe you can do it on a Sunday or something.
Yeah, Sunday afternoon or something.
That would work.
You have to get into a kosher kitchen, too.
Yeah, but there are some, so you can do that, But that's all. That's interesting, but also to do it and to cater to vegetarians.
Yes, that I've had. Healthy cooking, vegetarians, vegans.
Right. Yeah, vegans. That. Yeah, you have a lot of people who have allergies and all kinds of.
We started in the gay community as well. So we do actually.
Oh my goodness! Yes. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So you really have expanded, everywhere.
Exactly.
Cook and date. They're everywhere. New slogan. 514-790-0991. Frank Kermit joins me in studio, as well as Cristina Mucciardi of cookanddate.com. If you have questions about dating in general, or I'm curious to hear from you if you have found yourself in on again, off again relationships, and what is it that makes you want to keep going back with somebody who either keeps breaking up with you or that you keep breaking up with. Let's try and understand this process that happens and why this is really, really not a very good sign. We call it yo-yo dating, basically, and yo-yo dating is unhealthy. Are you a yo-yo dater? And are you addicted to the dating. Sometimes there's an addictive quality to that we need to look at as well. So let's address all of that, and would love to hear from you at 514-790-0991. You can also text your message at 514-800. And don't forget that you can follow us on Facebook. We have a Passion webpage, and and a CJAD page also on Facebook. I'm Dr. Laurie Betito, and you're listening to Passion on CJAD 800.
Frank Talks is sponsored in part by Everything Out of Her Mouth is a Test, a man's guide to the emotional needs of women. Ladies, do you want the man in your life to understand you on your level? Do you want your man to be able to listen to and address all of your emotional needs? Show him how much you really want your relationship to be the best it can be. Everything Out of Her Mouth is a Test makes a perfect gift. The book, written by a man, for men, is endorsed by every woman that reads it. This book is a guide for men to understand exactly what a woman means when she speaks. Is that worth changing your life forever? Buy this book at franktalks.com now.
This is Passion with Dr. Laurie Betito on Montreal's News Talk Leader, CJAD 800.
Welcome to the second half of Passion tonight. Once a month, we do a regular feature called Dating Dilemmas. Frank Kermit of franktalks.com joins me, and tonight, as well as a special guest, Cristina Mucciardi of cookanddate.com. If you want information about Cook and Date, well, you can go to the website, cookanddate.com. There are 6 events coming up just in the next month, so you can sign up and find out, and it's a lovely, very different type of dating, I think. It's not traditional.
No.
And this is like the newest thing.
It's not
in
traditional,
dating.
but it kind of is. It brings old school back, right?
In what way does it bring old school back?
It kind of is like I'm like the aunt or the grandmother or whoever is saying, come and meet so and so, because that's sort of how
that's your role there.
That's my role there, exactly.
Okay.
That's sort of how the setting is too. It's almost as if I'm inviting everybody to my house over a nice meal, but you have a private chef that's kind of giving you some tips on cooking and getting you involved to kind of mingle over the cooking aspect.
Sounds like fun. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm glad I'm not single, but if I were, I'd go to a Cook and Date. 514-790-0991. All right, let's talk about these yo-yo dating relationships. Why do they happen, Frank? What goes on that we date a little bit? No, that's not for me. And then we go back. Oh, you know what? Let me call her again. Or let me call him again. And you start over again, a few more dates. Oh, no, you know what? No, that's not working out. And you just, you keep doing this.
In its most honest form, the people usually have an honest, genuine desire to make the relationship work out. So something didn't work out, it got resolved, let's see if we can make it work out again.
Okay.
What happens the majority of the time is that people just get very lonely, and it's so much more difficult to find someone new than it is to return to the familiar.
Right.
Because as bad as the familiar is, it's a lot more comfortable.
Right.
Than going out and meeting someone new and going through the entire rigmarole of, I hope this person likes me and I really don't know. Should I say this? Should I say that? I don't know what to expect. And the nerves come in. And it's just so much easier to say, I really don't want to go through this again. Let me call up so-and-so. A lot of times people are just very lonely. It's cold out there. And it's just a lot easier to go back to someone who already knows your buttons and already knows your comfort levels, your boundaries. And then you figure, being alone is worse, so I kind of want to try this.
It's like better the devil you know, in a way.
Exactly. Unfortunately, it usually develops into a repeating behavior pattern where you lose yourself in this whole dynamic because you're constantly thinking about how to try and keep something alive, which quite frankly doesn't work out. One of the things that I teach is that even at your best, you're still only 50% of a relationship.
Right.
And the other 50% comes from choosing the right partner. Well, if it didn't work out the first time, it's probably not going to work out now, unless whatever it is, and let's be hopeful here, people can change. But if the element that broke you up has not fully changed on its own without your prodding, chances are that relationship is still not going to work out.
Can you give an example of something that doesn't change without your prodding?
Okay. Let's say the reason that you broke up with somebody is because that person cheated on you.
That's a pretty big one.
That's a very big one.
Yeah.
But there are people in on-again, off-again relationships that'll still go back even after there was an infidelity. Now, the question is, why did that infidelity occur? If you can narrow down the reasons and find an elimination to those reasons, if the person who was unfaithful can work on themselves and come to terms with whatever their issue was that allowed for that infidelity to happen, then you've got a shot at making the relationship work.
Right. And that's true, by the way, of where any infidelity has occurred in any relationship.
No, absolutely.
It's quite true. Minnie joins us on Passion. Hi, Minnie.
Hi, how
Hi.
are you?
Great, how are you?
Good.
Good.
So the first thing I wanted to say is I've been single for over 2 years now, and this idea of cooking and dating is the first thing that has been remotely interesting to me, just because the idea of getting back out there and dating.
Scary, huh?
Scary, yeah. And
Yeah.
I'm just so busy with the 2-year-old that I'm
wow.
thinking of that. But what I wanted to ask in terms of advice is I'm kind of in a particular situation because myself and her father are actually basically best friends at this point.
Okay.
One of those situations that rarely happens but ended up being for the better and is great. And I find I have two types of guys who I not even as far as get involved with, but there's the type who are freaked out by the idea of a child and want nothing to do with that, and
Right.
that's fine, and that's kind of more traditionally what I expect. But on the other hand, the ones who would very much want to sort of step in and play dad and are excited about a child being in the picture are almost equally disappointed because they are not going to replace her father. He's very, very actively in the picture.
Right.
So I feel like kind of on both ends, it's working against me, and I'm not really sure, I guess, kind of what type of guy to go after if that seems to be a good proportion.
I think a lot of the guys are going to weed themselves out themselves just by the situation. Whatever, you shouldn't hide the fact that you have a kid. That's number one. Whereas a lot of people tend to do that. They won't say it right off the bat. I think you're better off being honest and straightforward about that, because there are some guys that don't want to. They don't want to date somebody with kids, period. It's their thing, right? We can't fault somebody for that, and it's their desire, and okay, fine. So you weed out those. But, you need a guy who is going to have to accept that there is another man in your life, and although he's not a romantic partner, he's your partner in child rearing.
Right.
And he's not going away.
Yeah.
And so this is a guy, in my opinion, and Frank could talk about this, but it's a guy who has to feel secure within himself as well.
Yeah. That the other guy is not a threat to him.
That's right.
Anyway,
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's see, Frank, what would you say?
Well, first of all, it's really great that you and your ex are maintaining a good friendship.
Yeah.
But you have to understand that from a guy's perspective, the fact that you're such good friends with your ex is a threat to anything that I could build with you. Because in my mind, if I was a guy who was dating you and you were such good friends with your ex, first thing I'm thinking is, are you still involved and just not telling anybody as I'm getting to know you? I'm also going to be thinking, is there a chance that every time I might want to get more serious with you, you're going to be thinking about your ex instead of where we can go? So, because I have a lot on the line here. I'm going to get emotionally invested in you. I'm going to get emotionally invested in your child. And a lot of guys don't really talk about their emotions in that way because we're supposed to be tough, we're supposed to be strong. But you get attached to someone else's kid and you don't get to play a role in that child's life. That could be a real deep rejection, and that cuts. So the question I have for you is, when you're talking about your ex to your potential suitors, are you ever giving the impression that you and your ex might work things out down the road?
No. In fact, I'm very, very clear on, I guess I really almost want to impress them in the fact that, hey, look, like we are, the very small majority of people who've actually made this kind of a thing work, and it's so good. But maybe that's exactly it. Maybe I talk about how good it is.
Yeah, that's the first thing that's coming to my mind. You're insisting, oh, we're so rare in that. Well, if you're so rare in that.
Like, stay with him. Why the hell did you break up in the first place? Like, that's the thoughts that are going to go through his head. Like, what's wrong with you then? Why did you leave him if he's so great? Are you going to leave me if I'm so great?
Yeah.
So I also have a question for you, and that is, have you and your ex discussed the role of what a stepfather would get to play?
A little bit. We kind of discuss it a little bit, but because neither of us have actually really even gone out and done very much dating, we haven't really been faced with that situation where we've sort of had to have anything even remotely uncomfortable because we just haven't been there yet. So I guess just kind of in anticipation of hopefully eventually one of us or both of us, being the best case scenario, getting involved, that, we would be prepared for that.
I'm sorry, but everything you just said is a big red flag to me. The fact is that in the entire time the two of you have been separated, neither one of you has entered into a serious enough relationship to have
not
this...
at all. Not at all.
Again, if I was a guy who was dating you and I'm listening to this, I'm thinking it's just a matter of time before you and him resolve whatever those issues were that separated the two of you. Now, are you divorced or are you simply separated?
No, we actually weren't. We weren't married.
Okay, so I'm hearing that the dynamic is so good between the two of you. What role could I possibly play in your life on a serious level? I might date you casually, but if you start talking about getting serious in any way, I know that I can't bank on it, and I would pull myself out of that.
Okay.
So something to think about for sure.
Yeah. I never even kind of really considered that. I just always thought it was the guy's problem.
Right. Well, you see, that's why we have Frank here, because he gives us that whole perspective that we might need. Minnie, would you like to go to a cook and date event?
I would love to.
All right, so I'm going to put you on hold. Mike's going to take some information with you from you, and then Cristina will get in touch with you.
Wonderful. Thank you so
All right.
much, both of you.
Thanks, Minnie. Bye. 514-790-0991. You're listening to Dating Dilemmas tonight on Passion on CJAD 800.
Frank Talks is sponsored in part by the program From Friends to Lovers. Stop being her emotional cookie man. How does a man turn his female friend into his lover even when she has rejected him in the past? Why would a woman rather date and have sex with a stranger than a male friend she had known for years? What emotional needs do male friends, emotional cookie men, address, and which ones do they violate such that they don't get to date their female friends? What does it take to make a woman date and fall in love with one of her male friends? Why don't women see their male friends as sexually capable beings? What is the difference between a real female friend and a woman that uses men? Find out here in this Frank program, From Friends to Lovers. Stop being her emotional cookie man. On sale now at franktalks.com.
You're listening to Passion with Dr. Laurie Betito on Montreal's News Talk Leader, CJAD 800.
There are some things I regret. Dating Dilemmas tonight on Passion. In studio with me, Frank Kermit of franktalks.com and Cristina Mucciardi of cookandDate.com. If you have questions, give us a call. 514-790-0991. I do have one of Frank's CDs to give away, 101 Great First Dates. It's what to say, basically. Conversation topics, something that some people need help with. We're talking about on-again, off-again relationships. Like, when do you know, in your opinion, Frank, like that you got to do it for good already?
When you've broken up a number of times. I mean, my rule is, if you've broken up twice over the same thing, you don't go back, because it means that whatever was there didn't change. If you break up 3 times, whether it's for the same reason or different reason, you never go back, period. And it's a hard thing because the inclination is always to go back. But
why? Why is it so hard for people to leave for good?
See, I say one chance.
You say one chance. After that one chance, you don't go back.
No. And if there's too many obstacles, I mean, if it's a different reason, let's say the second time, I still believe it's just that one chance. I mean, everybody deserves that second chance, right? So that chance.
Well, it depends. Not everybody deserves a second chance. If somebody smacks me in the face once, they don't get no other chance, you know?
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
So it's not always that.
No, exactly. But it could have been a mistake. Could have been a who knows what. So there's that one chance. But then after that, I mean, Frank, you're good 2 chances.
No, Cristina, no chances.
Well,
see, I would give it maybe a 2-date chance.
A 2-date test.
In other words, let's say you go out on a first date. Like I always, I have a girlfriend and she'll say, she went on a first date with somebody and she's like, oh, I don't think so. I said, just give it a chance. Just go a second time, And she ended up going a second time. This is one particular story. And she fell for the guy on the second date.
Right.
Now, if she had stopped herself after the first date, because he wasn't her type. He wasn't her physical type, but he did stuff on the second date, some of the seduction stuff that really got her. Like, nobody had ever said that to her. Nobody had ever treated her in that way. Nobody had ever, done these small gestures to her. And it got her, hot for this guy.
Absolutely.
So, to say it politely. So it worked, but had she given up after that first date...
Well, you don't want to be on either extreme either. You don't want to give it up too quickly right at the beginning because of, it might not turn out well or you're not really into it right now. And you don't want to constantly stay when the dynamic constantly fails and is nothing but a source of pain.
Well, that's right.
And
That's
you find there's always like one weaker.
Masochistic.
That too, yeah. There's always one weaker of the couple, right? So
one weaker in what way?
Meaning that there's always one that usually comes back, right? There's always one that either is the first one to call, or there's always one that's always the one to say yes.
Well, there's always one that might be more needy, is what you're trying to say?
Exactly.
I've looked at it differently, and that is the person who's taking that person back is just as needy, but in a different way.
Okay, explain.
Okay, so let's say you have the typical dynamic where you have the woman who would be considered having low self-esteem, constantly going back to the guy who, she's needy, she's low self-esteem and whatnot. He's still taking her back, even though the dynamic is not very healthy. So there's an emotional need, a dysfunctional
that he has.
But he might just be bored that night. He might just be, you don't know.
No, because if he was bored, he would go out and find someone new. He would go out and have a new experience.
That's where
he's happy just going back to the same familiar dynamic, which is not doing anything good for him either. So you have to remember that it takes two in a relationship, and it's very rare that there's one person who's really, really dysfunctional and another person who's got it all together when it's an off-again, on-again relationship.
Let's hear from Michael and see what he has to say. Hi, Michael.
Hi. I just wanted to indicate, I've been listening to your show on and off and other shows similar to yourself. I think people are putting a lot of pressure on each other, putting pressure on your relationship on one person on the other or mutually. It's just too much. People are just going to be disappointed with their mates. They're not perfect. People's Magazine face. Suddenly, the neighbor's wife or husband looks better, who's half attractive as your own mates, and off it goes. People put too much pressure. I call it princess and prince syndrome. The delusion of, and there's a lot of girls
the fairy tale,
out there.
the whole fairy tale syndrome, basically, yeah.
That's right. You're never going to find, I'm sorry, I'm talking to the 16-year-old or 18-year-old girls or 24-year-old, whoever's listening, it's just not going to happen. Okay? And same thing goes for the guys. Your wife is not your mummy, is not your bottle washer and everything. She's supposed to be your equal mate, and people put just too much pressure on each other.
Today I saw this 21-year-old guy, and he said something to me, and it was very interesting. He says, "Well, I'm looking for the perfect, girl," and I looked at him and I said, "Well, are you perfect?" And he said, "No." I said, "Well, then why would you look for perfect? You're not perfect, And it was like, it was interesting. I think I threw him for a loop, but
there's no one person could be everything. Another aspect I wanted to indicate: a lot of females view males as wallets with money. We live in a democracy, a self-professed democracy. We're not talking about Iran or Iraq here, okay? And that a self-professed democracy that includes universal suffrage. That means the independence of females. I do not deal with any female who is not financially independent because I don't want her to be with me because of my car or my wallet or my bank account. I want her to be with me because she sincerely loves me, and I want to be with a woman because I know she loves me, not because of my financial status.
Right. Well, that's a good point. Are you single, Michael?
Technically, what do you mean by I have occasional partners here or there. I have no expectations. I have no mispreconceptions. If somebody wants to afford 2 or 3 hours of loving towards me and I towards her, I'm a happy puppy.
Michael, we'll keep your name in the data bank. Thanks so much for calling. Have a good night. I'd say that was pretty single, no?
Yeah, that's pretty single.
You're listening to Passion on CJAD 800.
Frank Talks is sponsored in part by the book I'm a Man, That's My Job, The Philosophy of a Seducer. Your inner game is as unique and personal as your signature or your fingerprints. This book provides you with the means to create your own seduction persona. By this, learn what it means to be a man and attract the women you want. Learn about how men and women think differently and how to take the lead in a relationship. This book is for you at franktalks.com.
You're listening to Passion with Dr. Laurie Betito on Montreal's News Talk Leader, CJAD 800.
So many words for the broken heart. That's an appropriate song. We're talking about dating tonight with Frank Kermit of franktalks.com and my special guest, Cristina Mucciardi of cookanddate.com. On again, off again relationships is one thing that we're talking about as well. Let's go to Steve, who's calling us from North Dakota. Hey, Steve.
Hi.
Hi. Great to hear from you.
Well, thanks.
So, we have a question, a comment?
Yeah, well, I've been dating a girl for over a year and a half. And she's going to be moving and not coming back, probably.
Okay.
So
how far away? How far away, Steve?
The other side of the planet.
Huh?
A different country.
A different country. Okay.
So we get along really great, and keep seeing her until she goes. I guess with on and off again stuff. I was just wondering, should I, try to do the long-distance relationship thing, or, what are the options there?
The three of us here are shaking our heads, to tell you the truth. Frank, what would you tell him?
It sounds like you're not separating because, neither one of you violated another one's emotional needs in this. It sounds really like logistics, that she has to go for some reason. Is this like for work or something?
Yes, it's for work.
Okay, so she has to go. Are you able to go with her at all?
No, I have kids, and I'm not going to move out.
Okay. My advice is not to do the long-distance relationship thing. I think you should enjoy what time you have left. Keep each other, stay in contact through email, your peripheral, but having the expectation of maintaining a relationship when you're not able to follow her and she's not able to stay, you're just going to cause yourself a lot of heartache. At some point, one of you, whether you just get very lonely or whether you just want to move on with your life, it's going to happen. Why set yourselves up for pain? Enjoy what you have left. Make it as special as possible. Be as forgiving as you need to be in the time you have left. Just make it something so memorable. And you never know, in 5 to 10 years from now, you both could be in a different situation where you will meet up again. Don't do the long distance relationship thing where you're going to set up a dynamic that's prone to failing so that you could cost yourself an opportunity that might come up in 5 or 10 years from now.
I just don't see how logistically you could do it, especially when you say she's probably not ever coming back. It's one thing when somebody goes away for 6 months, a year. It's a set, definitive time period that you can live with. You'll see each other a couple of times. You'll Skype. And then you know that you're going to reunite. But if there's no hope in hell that you're going to come back together because you can't leave and she's definitely not coming back, what are you doing?
Well, let's
yeah.
Right.
I agree. I don't know. I don't see a way around it either. But
does she want to continue?
We talked about it a little bit.
Okay.
And I'd be kind of keen to if there's not, it's not certain yet whether or not she'll be able to come back, but the likelihood is small.
Right.
So it's
I mean, it's sad. It's sad, but such is life. Like, what are you going to do? Yeah?
Yep.
There are people who can make long-term relationships work, long-distance relationships work, because they'll stay in contact and they'll use their vacation times to spend,
It's not enough, Frank, though.
No, it's not enough. But if they knew that, let's say, in 3 or 4 years they would be reunited, Look at how
like
many...
a set period of time, you mean? Yeah, that's different, I think. Yeah.
Look at the people who immigrate from country to country. You send off one family member. They're going to be separated for anywhere for up to 5 years. But over those 5 years, they're in constant contact, and slowly families will end up all immigrating into the new country. If that's the type of dynamic you're setting up, then power to you. And yes, that can work because you know that there is...
there's an end date to that.
Exactly.
To that distance. If there's no end date, how the heck are you supposed to make plans for your future?
And you can't.
You know, you got kids to think about. You can't just pick up and leave. So there's lots to consider there. Steve, thanks so much for calling in all the way from North Dakota.
Yep, thanks.
All right, take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. 514, no, not giving out the numbers because we're done. We're done. Cookanddate.com. If you want some information about the next events that are happening, this is a fabulous way to meet other single people. If you're tired of the old dating scene through the internet or speed dating or all those other methods, this is one option that you have, cookanddate.com. Christina, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Our pleasure. And Frank, thank you once again. We'll catch up with you again in a little while.
Always a pleasure.
Wonderful. If you need to get in touch with me, you can email passion@cjad.com. You can join our Facebook group, Passion with Dr. Laurie Betito. You can check out my website. You can reach me through there, drlaurie.com. So lots of ways. You can call my office if you'd like a private consultation. I do that too at 514-984-5910, individuals and couples. By the way, I'm a regular psychologist too, and a sexologist, so either of those kinds of issues work well. Coming up next, news, and then Joey Elias will join you. Mike Babbins, Master Control, thank you very much. Appreciate all the hard work that you do back there. Have a great rest of the evening, and please don't forget, life is short, so make sure you take the time to smell the flowers and indulge your passions.
Frank Talks is sponsored in part by The Eye of the Seductress, Volume 1, a workbook for women to learn about the emotional needs of men. This book is designed to teach women how to seduce men into making a commitment. By learning about the emotional needs of men, a woman will learn what makes even the most notorious players, pimps, and high-value men and quality male leaders commit to one particular woman. From the desk of Frank B Kermit, the seduction relationship expert, this book is also a great resource for men to learn how to judge the value of a woman to know if she is worthy of everything he has to offer. The Eye of the Seductress. Buy this book now at franktalks.com.